This is the Signature Morning on Signature TV. We are switching gears to talk about safety and hygiene, water and sanitation hygiene in a fragile context. We have a wash experts. He is Mr. Timothy Aposo. Timothy, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Trying to speak about sanitation in fragile context. And I was trying to say that when we talk about fragile context, we're talking about areas that are experiencing conflict, insecurity, or maybe weak governance or poor economic initiatives. And due to these circumstances, access to sanitation services at these locations is usually challenging. For instance, in the northwestern part of this country, and even in the northeast, where the bandits and the Boko Haram have held sway for a long time, communities living within those axes find it very challenging, difficult to access sanitation services, and therefore it occasions for a lot of open defecation. Uh, Even in Benue State, for instance, where there's a lot of farmer header crisis in a lot of local government areas, these communities find it difficult to access sanitation services because of insecurity. So the concept of sanitation in fragile context is that which is looking at ways or avenues through which, even though communities are experiencing difficulties, challenges, they are still able to access sanitation services.
All right. What do you think are the major challenges to the implementation of the WASH initiatives?
Yeah, the major challenges, for instance, one, uh, absence of documented knowledge, because these things are not done in silos. People are facing challenges of insecurity globally, but most people have not documented what they did in the face of challenges of this insecurity and other challenges, to enable their people have access to sanitation services. So a dearth of this knowledge, because this knowledge is not available, that makes it difficult when new people begin to face these challenges, for them to be able to say, okay, this is what and what we can do for our people or by ourselves to be able to access sanitation services. Then funding is also another challenge, because even where people have some will to be able to execute this, the support is not there. Coordination amongst development partners or humanitarian agencies, as well as government agencies, in most cases is also not so vibrant or so good. So sometimes efforts are not well coordinated, and then there's risk of duplicating where they shouldn't, and then some people are also left without access because of poor coordination. Thank you, and over.
Okay, Mr. Timothy, you've outlined the challenges the WASH initiative faces for the implementation of this program. We want to know, like, what are the health consequences of poor WASH conditions?
Oh, thank you very much for this question. The consequences are quite enormous. Unfortunately, I have to say this. Most people and even our governments do not appreciate so much the consequences that are occasioned by a lack of good water, sanitation, and hygiene service. But some of the consequences of absence of wash is disease. For instance, a lot of children under the age of 5 die within the first 1 year because of a lot of waterborne related diseases. Yeah. A lot of girl children, for instance, are not able to go to school and be sustained in school because they do not have sanitation facilities and water in school, especially during their menstrual period, to be able to clean themselves up and feel comfortable to be able to study. Now, man hours that are lost by parents when children or even adults fall sick, spending in the hospital to take care of their loved ones, those are hours that could be put into productive use. So there's a lot of consequences. It's so huge. Even though the impact is not tangible, it's not like something you can feel or touch, but the impact is huge.
Let yourself.
Okay, Mr. Timothy. Sometime in 2024, we had this current this outbreak of cholera, which was the main cause of it was the water and the consumption of food, the kind of food we consume, and the hygiene of the area where this food is being produced. So, what impact has this initiative done to, aid to aid in avoiding the reoccurrence of this cholera outbreak from progressing from what it is now?
Okay, thank you very much. This initiative, the sanitation in fragile context, is basically or purely a behavior change initiative. It's an initiative where people, communities are brought together and they are facilitated to come to the realization that some of the practices that they've been carrying out are the ones that have actually led them to have some of these diseases. For instance, the cholera outbreak that you just mentioned. Yeah. So the initiative having, if able to transform people's behavior, change them from defecating in the open to constructing toilets, using them properly, washing their hands with soap and running water. This will significantly contribute to reducing such incidences because in most cases, these diseases are gotten either in water or through the oral transmission route by through food, water, and by eating them. So this behavior change, if actually implemented effectively, will certainly help communities to be able to avoid or overcome such circumstances.
All right, over the last few years, we've seen the increase of the prices in water, even ordinary drinking water. The last 2 years, if you will, water has increased by 100%. The cost of water, the one we call the pure water, sachet water, in some places right now, it's no longer even within the reach of the common man. The bottled water, in fact, that some persons would look at and say, well, maybe because to an extent it's a little bit hygienic, they want to go for it, also has increased. How much of you think the cost of water would impact on hygiene?
Yeah, that's a big one. Of course, the cost of water will certainly impact on the hygiene because people use water daily for so many things. And you know, the adage goes, which says that water is life. So when the price of water has shot up without a corresponding increase in the disposable income of families, it's a big challenge. However, there needs to be a balancing also, balancing to the effect that of a truth, water is actually free, but where the problem is the cost of now drawing that water it and purifying it to make it wholesome for people to consume. So while probably some of the producers may have taken advantage of the economic difficulties. I think there is also naturally because of the inputs that they are required for treatment of water, for packaging and all that, there should naturally have been an increase. But I think people have taken it over the board because as Nigerians, sometimes it appears maybe it's in our DNA to take advantage of economic situations and take advantage of our people. But I think the government has a role to play because especially in the urban settings, if the urban water is made available to residents where they can open their taps and get their water, I think this cost of water will actually reduce. So the buck stops on the table of the government because urban water is something that is capital intensive. And sometimes the government might even consider the possibility of bringing in private sector investors to see how they can partner, and in that way they'll be able to bring down the cost of water. Thank you.
Um, I'm still on the cost of water, really. We know that over the years, things have really become difficult. To even afford food these days is quite difficult for young people, for people who even work. It's difficult. Not to talk of the people who don't even work. Given the number of people who have been captured in the number of the amount of persons who are poor, in the last statistics by the National Bureau of Statistics, they say that like up to 7.5 million Nigerians have been drafted into the poverty lane, making it 135 or 137 million Nigerians who are multidimensionally poor. Do you think there's a link between, this number of poor people with the WASH initiative, and how do you think that can be mitigated?
Yeah. My understanding and my perspective on this is, you see, WASH in itself uh, can also be used for business purposes. Uh, for instance, you you have people who have their toilets uh, filled up. They need service of people to actually evacuate the sludge from their sockaway pits. That's an opportunity for business. I recall some time ago, there was this gentleman in Lagos who said, who always said shit was serious business, and he was able to make millions out of shit business in Lagos. I have not followed up on that, so I don't know what has become of him and or his business. But a lot of opportunities also abound within the sanitation sector. And that's why it's also important to develop the sanitation, the market-based sanitation sector of WASH, because by doing that, we are able to create job opportunities and businesses for people. And I think that can have a direct link to this number of persons you just mentioned, who have been said to have joined the ranks of the multidimensionally poor in Nigeria. Thank you.
Hello, Timothy.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so do you think political instability do you think that it has any link with the WASH initiative, or how it can hamper the WASH initiative?
Yeah, like I said earlier, on a good day, politicians like projects that give them quick wins. They want to have turnkey projects where they can go cut ribbons, get celebrated for having achieved something great. With WASH, it takes a lot of investment and a lot of time to be able to achieve something like that. For instance, if it's a water works project, for instance, so a lot of times you find politicians not being interested in WASH initiatives and WASH projects. And I think that has affected WASH in this country greatly. Um, so even when the polity is a bit stable and they are not interested, talk less of when, just like you said, there is political instability. Certainly, WASH will not be one of the areas they will want to channel their attentions to, even though it is very, very important that it has direct bearing on the health and economy of Nigerians and communities. But a lot of times it is not of primary interest to our politicians, even within a normal setting.
All right, Timothy, I want to say a very big thank you for the opportunity to share with us some of an interesting perspective as relates to water. I mean, even in the urban centers, we have issues with water and even hygiene. And I'm just wondering what the rural areas, will be facing and battling with what's going on with the prices of water. I mean, here in Enugu is even worse because people basically purchase every single water that they use. What I mean that water isn't running in our taps. It is that bad. So every single water that you have, whether in your tank or maybe whether it's sachet water, is purchased. So it means that if you are budgeting, for instance, for the month or for the period, water has to be part of it. I mean, the focal part of whatever it is that you're doing. And so, successive government haven't really given this so much thought. And that's the reason why we still have these issues crop up every now and then. We have, diseases that have been born out of lack of water or lack of hygiene. And it's quite difficult that it is somewhat a big issue with what we are facing today. But thank you so much for the insights, Mr. Timothy. We truly appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having me too. Thank you.
We're back after this. Do stay with us.